This is my first video. I apologize in advance if I look away from the camera or my voice doesn't show up that well. I am going to make this video and hopefully a few more, and I hope that it can help those of you that are suffering with or from anxiety, depression, self-harm, and hopefully friends and family of those who are suffering. I hope I can give them a little bit of insight. It seems all too often those people are the ones that kind of act like we're the ones that bring this upon ourselves. Like we're the reason this happens. You know, with our overthinking and everything else, and they always give us the same, well, you got to stop thinking about it. If you get it out of your mind, you wouldn't have to deal with it. You know, it wouldn't bother you so much if you just stopped thinking about it. That's the last thing we want to hear. Because if it were that easy, we wouldn't have these problems. I ain't telling somebody who suffers from anxiety or depression, what have you, telling them that. It's like when somebody has the flu and saying, well, have you tried just not throwing up? Or someone that's missing an appendage saying, have you just tried to stop bleeding? It doesn't work that way. And for those of you that don't suffer from anxiety, you haven't a clue how we feel. And I'm hoping that I can shed some light on the situation, and more importantly, show those who are suffering from anxiety that even though your family and your friends and what have you may make you feel like you're the only one who goes through this, like it might be your fault, I'm going to let you know what it isn't, and let you know that you're not alone. I didn't have the option of going to see a psychologist, a therapist. And so I got to where I could halfway function normally and getting myself as cured as I can naturally. I will never be cured, so to speak. I mean, I think I'll deal with this for the rest of my life, but I can have a little bit of pride in myself in saying that I didn't have to resort to pills. And I shouldn't say it like that because pills would have made my life so much easier, but I just have an issue with pills just suppressing the problem, not actually curing the problem. And I'll go into that later in another video. But I think this video I'm going to detail kind of my life and different things that led to where my anxiety kind of really, I don't want to say imploded, but where everything just came to a head and just wrecked me. You can look back to my early life. My mom had me in high school. My grandparents adopted me, not because my mother was a bad mother, but because my biological dad was an ass. So I dealt with some little abandonment issues with my mother because she went off to school and did things which are good. I'm glad she did. But, I mean, she married what would be my stepdad when I was 4 years old, I think. And they're still together to this day. I got 2 brothers and a sister. But things really bothered me growing up, and it's even worse now that I'm older with them. And what I'm going to say here in the next few minutes is going to make me seem like I hate my family. My family is a terrible group of people, but you must understand that I love my family. We have our issues, but they're not as bad as I'm making them sound. I mean, they're not pleasant with me by any means, but they caused me a lot of problems that really affected me as I got older. So for those of you young children that watch this, be a support system for your kids. No matter how silly things may seem, be there for them. Even if they're not going to get to play that much in sports, be there for them. But I really didn't have a support system with my family. They didn't take much of an interest in anything I was going to do unless they didn't want me to do it. You know, very, very overprotective when I was younger. I didn't get to go out and play. I didn't get to go out to the school. I played at the little park. I grew up in town with 1,100 people. So you wouldn't think it'd be that big of an issue. I had to wear to school. My mother wanted me to wear, so I got made fun of. The school was miserable. And when I get to be about 4th or 5th grade, my parents started throwing me birthday parties for my whole class. And keep in mind, there's only like 20-some kids in my class. So they'd come over on a Friday night or something right for winter vacation because my birthday's on Christmas. And they would do the same thing they always did. They would make fun of me. And every time I tried to stick up for myself, then I would get in trouble. Because in this town, you're just supposed to sit and take it. The first person to throw a punch doesn't get thrown in jail. It's the last person. And I'm using that analogy as far as children go. And I don't condone fighting, especially with children. But they would make fun of me. And my parents thought it'd be all in good fun. They wanted to seem like the cool parents. So they wanted to be cool to my classmates, not to me. So they would go down and they'd join in the fun and make fun of me, and thinking it's all in good fun. And not realizing how much it bothered me. And they continue to do it till today, too. When I get to junior high, they don't go to sporting events for me. They don't care about what I'm doing in school. I was an excellent artist, won all kinds of awards. They didn't care. My family belittled me inadvertently, I think. I don't think they did it intentionally. But they threw a fit about a lot of things I did. I had bedtime at 9 o'clock until I was a senior, and it was 9:30. My parents would vehemently deny that they did that. After I graduated high school, I had a curfew of 11:30. I broke it once. Got the cell phone that I paid for taken away. Got my keys taken away from the pickup that I had. But growing up, through high school, I wasn't treated that well from my classmates and the people in my area, because in this town you're not supposed to have long hair. You're not supposed to wear anything that isn't country music or whatever related. And you weren't supposed to be an individual. I mean, people preach, you got to do what's best for yourself, you got to be yourself, you got to do this, but here it's not welcome. And I'm in a small enough area that there really isn't anybody like me. Even today, 25 years old, there's nobody like me around here, which makes it hard. The girls that I dated in high school were from towns really far away. 60 plus miles. Because those were the ones that would actually see that this guy is a gentleman, even though his style is not the same as ours. Growing up with my grandparents, that's one thing I did have, was respect for people. But through high school, all through high school, from elementary school up, I developed really bad social anxiety. I couldn't really talk to people. So it was really hard for me to speak up and what have you. When I got ready to graduate, I was all set to go to art school. I had a couple scholarships to a few different programs, private art universities, fine arts universities. And my ultimate goal was to be an art instructor someday. And my parents did not want me to be an artist. They didn't care that I wanted to be an art instructor. They didn't care to hear that part of it. They just looked and seeing art instructors, or artists, artists don't make that much money. So they refused to help me do anything, fill out paperwork, move, what have you. And living in a small town, you don't make much money, especially as a teenager. So you didn't have money to do it yourself. So I thought I'd be a psychologist. I did all right in the school. But I wanted to go to a psychology institute because I wanted to be a behavioral psychologist. I didn't want to go for a 4-year psychology degree and then have to go get a master's and specialize in something. And I did want to get a master's and try to work myself up to a PhD eventually, but I'm the kind of guy that wants to be able to pick his path and go that way. You know, get as much experience and knowledge as I can with the one thing that I want to do, rather than getting a broad array of stuff and then having to go into that. And who's to say one way is better than the other? I'm not worried about it. They didn't want me to go to Psychology Institute. They wanted me to go to university for that. So I figured, you know what, if I'm going to go to university, I love baseball, I could be a baseball broadcaster. Try to work my way up into doing that. So I looked and I found a university program at University of Nebraska-Lincoln. It was going to let me do that, and they did not want me to do that because they seen that you could do some sort of broadcasting thing in community college. Again, no support. So I ended up going to technical school because if they didn't help me like they said they weren't going to, there were people through the school that were going to get me down there and help me get in. They did help me. I did really well in school, graduated near the top of my class. And I had really good job offers. And mom and dad kind of flexed their authority again and said, we're not going to help you move. The only way we're going to help you move is if you come back home. I was floored. I couldn't believe it. I did this well in school and you're going to make me come back home. It crushed me. I got a job I didn't enjoy, and I ultimately got laid off. And I got notes down here, so I apologize if I look away. But I got laid off. It killed me. You know, I didn't make enough money to move out of mom and dad's house. I was getting depressed. I had real bad social anxiety issues. Every time that I would try to go out, I would have somebody come up to me and tell me they're going to kick my ass because of my long hair. Or they don't like my kind around here. The mayor told me that. And my parents hated my hair. A few times they threatened to come into my bedroom at night and cut my ponytail off. I usually have it tied back. It was terrible. I got laid off and I went to go look for jobs and nobody would hire me. And finally the people I worked at the grocery store in high school came and offered me a job and it was awesome. I loved it. And they treated me like a son. They treated me like I mattered. They helped build my confidence up a little bit. The store sold. And then everything went to hell. I'd already dealt with confidence issues, low self-esteem, image issues, whatever. Yeah, all the social anxiety, especially in the town that I was at. Putting up with a lot more stuff than I should. The new couple that came in and bought the store were a couple from California. Where they're from is irrelevant. It's just saying they came halfway across the country. They didn't want to train. They figured they knew it all. They treat us like garbage. They threw everything that the original owners did on our plates. And mine in particular, because I was cheap labor. They threw the weight of the business on my shoulders. They would not deal with customers. They would not deal with businesses. They talked to everybody like they were stupid. And I worked back in the meat department. We had a full-service open meat counter, fresh meat counter, where you came up, we cut a steak to your exact specifications. We made our hamburger from scratch out of the same clawed heart every day. And everything was fresh every single day. Everything was rotated out. We didn't have waste. We didn't force you to buy old products like you get in a lot of these places with the vac pack, cryovac, what have you. But I remember one day, the whole day was bad. And I guess I should say that I chewed very heavily. I went through a can to chew a day. I only took 3 dips a day, so you can imagine how big those dips were. and how much nicotine was in my system. I drank a lot of soda. And on this day, everything was coming to a head. Everything was messing up in the morning because of these people. And I had a strange feeling come straight up through my sternum. As that feeling when you're terrified. I mean, the only way I can explain it is if you get up at like 2 in the morning and you're going to go get a drink of water with all the lights off, and there's a bang and you see something out of the corner of your eye, and that fear that shoots straight up through your chest, that's what I was feeling. I don't know if it was adrenaline or what it was, but I kept feeling that, and I kept getting lightheaded. My vision kept getting funny, and oh, it was bad. I decided I wasn't going to go home for dinner. I ate lunch in the office, just some trail mix, and I went out to go behind the meat counter, and everything went wrong again. I had the same feeling. My heart was beating out of my chest again. My motor functions weren't working. My hands weren't working. My vision kicked out. I was about ready to fall over. I told the guy I worked with back there at that time that I had to go to the doctor. I called my mother. She called the doctor. My brother, who was working up front at the time that afternoon, he took me to the doctor. When I got to the doctor, I was shaking. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. And when I went there, they did the EKG and everything. Said my heart was fine. It was just beating really, really fast. And she said she thinks it's a panic attack. And doctor lady did. And I remember looking at her and I said, "You got to be kidding me. I'm not scared. How am I panicking? I'm not scared of anything." And she gave me a lorazepam pill, and it chilled me out, but it made me feel like a zombie. So I sat there the whole night in the chair, just not feeling right. At least my chest wasn't beating so hard. Went in, doctor next morning, told her how it worked. She gave me a prescription for 10 of them, said take them only when you need them. I had to take 2 others. And they were all at work. And because of that, I had to quit chewing cold turkey and drinking caffeine, which was hell. And for those of you that are smoking, deal with anxiety, you can say what you want about quitting that, but I know there's a lot more nicotine in the chew and it gets into your system a lot quicker. It was bad, and your body gets so used to using that to focus, that it was very hard for me to focus afterwards. But shortly after that, my buddy quit the store and I was stuck. I was working 75 hours a week with no respect at all, making $9 an hour, serving the restaurants, dealing with all the customers, all the businesses, dealing with incoming and outgoing orders. And then when I go home, after dealing with all that stress all day long, I have to deal with my family getting after me like this is my problem. And back to work, I mean, it was dealing with anxiety problems at work. Where they're stressing you out and you're trying to fight back, having that anxiety attack, your heart's about ready to just break out of your chest again. And you got to keep yourself moving, because if you stop, then your vision is going to kick out and you're going to start freaking out again for no reason whatsoever. And you're just trying your best. And when you go to use the bandsaw, how scared I was, because my motor functions weren't working like they should. My eyes weren't working like they should. My hands weren't working like they should. Every time I had a little pain in my head, I feared I was having an aneurysm. Every time that my eye would twitch, I feared I was having a stroke. Every chiropractic issue that pinched something in my arm, it made my hand tingle a little bit. I thought I was having a stroke. I would stay up at night just fearing I was having a heart attack, all kinds of panic attacks, going to sleep for no reason whatsoever. And then you got your family who sleeps upstairs in the house, has a living room upstairs, but chooses to sit in the living room downstairs, which is right next to my bedroom. And they wouldn't turn the TV down for me to go to sleep. I'd be at work 6 in the morning. It was stressful, It was awful. The feeling like you're dying every single day. Your heart beating out your chest every single day. I dealt with agoraphobia. I, for the longest time, could not walk past my safe zone of like 50 to 100 feet in an alley. I couldn't ride to another town in a vehicle with somebody. It was awful. I mean, that feeling like you're dying, that pressure in your head. Feels like your head's gonna explode. I can't explain all the stuff I felt, but everything that led up to this and pushed me over the edge was, I just can't explain how bad it was. The agoraphobia, I mean, like I say, everything just came to a head and just all hell broke loose inside me. Dealing with that anxiety every day, dealing with that funny feeling in your head and your vision kicking out all the time, and your hands not working right because of anxiety. How bad it's making you feel, and then your family not understanding and sitting there trying to pass it off like it's just you overthinking things, and everybody's sitting there trying to help, telling you, oh, you just tried not thinking about it. I don't know. Anxiety is a son of a bitch. And depression that comes along with it. When you try everything you can to get rid of this and it just doesn't stop, you try everything you can do to make yourself happy and it just doesn't work. You try to do everything you can to be positive and everything just goes wrong. Your family don't understand it, they don't care to understand it. And you fear everything for no reason. You overanalyze things for no reason. It isn't like you're trying to do this, it just happens. I remember when I was finally able to move out of my mother's house, how scared I was to be on my own. And the same fears go in your mind, you know, you're having anxiety about anxiety. You're fearing having an anxiety attack and what's going to happen. You know, what if you do this and it turns into a heart attack? What are you going to do? What are you going to do if something goes wrong? You got nobody to call. I snuck out of my parents' house at the age of 24 years old. Moved all my stuff out at night after they went to bed. Little by little. Because I didn't want them to criticize me. I have people turn their nose up at me in this town because I don't look like they want me to look. You do everything you can, and people just look at you stupid. There's a gal in town who had a thing for me until I grew my hair out. And then she won't even acknowledge until I grew my hair back out. And for whatever reason, she won't acknowledge my existence because I have long hair now. I had long hair in high school, I had long hair after college, and I got long hair again. And I think you stand on the outside looking in, you can say all kinds of different things to people suffering from all this stuff, but you don't know exactly what they're feeling. That feeling like they're dying. The feelings of derealization when you feel like you're standing 2 feet behind your actual person, everything just gets way, way too real. It's hard to explain. We can't put it into words, and you can't see it. But if you people could feel what we feel, you wouldn't know how we make it through each day. Now, so for those of you that suffer from anxiety, depression, who self-harm, who deal with agoraphobia issues, who have OCD like myself, all these different things, you're not alone. You can go to a therapist and they can sit there and take your money and talk to you and help you out that way. But most of those people have never dealt with these problems. They know what they know through a book. And I don't think I can offer you therapy, but at least I can show you that you're not alone. There's people that suffer right alongside of you that struggle. who get at points where they think there's no way out, there's no way up. No matter how hard they try, it's like a roller coaster. But every time you think that roller coaster is going to come back up, it keeps going down. Further and further and further. And every time you think it starts to go up, it's just a little lump. Even today, I am millions of times better than I was, say, a year ago. And getting away from those people and getting away from my family for a little while has helped a little bit. Along with caffeine-free herbal tea and a journal. As stupid as a journal sounds, it is the one thing that gave me that outlet. And it gave me an uncensored outlet to where I could write everything down that I wanted to and not worry about anything. That is the only thing that really helped me. So I hope this video at least showed those of you who suffer that you're not alone. I don't think I'll ever be cured. But I know I can get to where I can live a halfway normal life and function. And it sounds stupid to say it like that for those of you who don't deal with anxiety, function. But if you deal with severe anxiety, you really can't function. You're like a broken toy. There's only so much you can do. I hope you understand you're not alone. And I hope in the coming videos I can hopefully show those of you who don't deal with anxiety issues what we go through, what we feel. Because it's hard to explain what you feel inside. Because all you can say is you feel like you're dying. And that's the best you can explain it. So hopefully those of you who suffer with anxiety can stay positive. And I say it like that and know that I couldn't. I know it's hard. And as much as you try to stay positive, it just don't work. And I hope those of you that don't deal with anxiety learn to be patient with those that do. Because you don't know the battles they're fighting inside. And if you did, you wouldn't look at the people the same way again because they're warriors. They're the toughest of the tough. Because most of you that want to sit there and tell us that we should just stop worrying about stuff, you wouldn't stand a chance with the battles we fight in our minds every single day. I apologize for taking up so much of you guys' time. I hope you liked the video. And I hope that my next videos can give you some insight into what we feel like. Thanks for watching.